Have you ever really stopped to think about how that thing you ordered online gets from a factory, maybe halfway across the world, all the way to your front door? It's not magic. It's this incredibly complex, kind of hidden system called a supply chain. Today, we're going to pull back that curtain and show you the core ideas that make it all tick. I want you to think back to when you were a kid, just playing with simple building blocks. With just a few basic shapes, right? You could build anything you could possibly imagine. Well, it turns out the pros who manage these massive global supply chains, they're doing the exact same thing, but their building blocks are just a little bit different. Yeah, their building blocks are theories and models. And look, these are not just some dry academic ideas you'd find in a textbook. They are seriously powerful, practical tools for making sense of the world. And today, you're going to learn how to see them too. So, here's what we're going to cover. We'll start with why this stuff even matters. Then we'll dive into the theories that help explain all the chaos. After that, we'll look at the models that act as blueprints for success. And finally, we're going to give you a whole new lens for looking at the world around you. All right, first up, let's get two key words straight: theory and model. They might sound kind of the same, but really getting the difference between them is the first big step to seeing how all these systems actually work. Here's the easiest way to think about it. A theory is your diagnostic tool. It helps you understand why something is happening. Why are we seeing delays? Why is all this inventory piling up? The theory is the why. A model, on the other hand, that's your blueprint. It shows you how to actually build a better system, how to map it out, and how to improve it. So you've got the why versus the how. Okay, so let's dive into the theories first. These are the big ideas that help us get our heads around the why behind some of the most common and, frankly, most frustrating problems you see in any supply chain. Have you ever seen this? A product that's always on the shelf just vanishes? Everywhere. I mean, we all remembered the great toilet paper shortage, right? What causes that? Well, a lot of the time, it starts with a really, really small change. A tiny little ripple that somehow grows into a massive tidal wave. This phenomenon has a name, and it's perfect: the Bullwhip Effect. I mean, think about cracking a whip. A tiny flick of your wrist creates that huge, loud crack at the very end. It's the exact same idea in a supply chain. A small change in what you buy at the store gets amplified and distorted at every single step all the way back to the factory. And that creates these wild, crazy swings in orders that lead to, well, empty shelves. Let's make this super clear with a quick example. Okay, imagine you go to the store and you buy just one strawberry yogurt. The store manager sees this, and just to be safe, he orders 2 cases. The warehouse manager sees that bigger order come in and thinks, whoa, strawberry is really taking off. So they order 20 cases. Well, by the time that signal gets all the way to the factory, they're in full-on panic mode and ramp up production to make 200 cases. And the result? A giant mountain of yogurt that's probably going to expire, all because of your one little purchase. That's the bullwhip effect in a nutshell. So the bullwhip effect shows how our reactions can just spiral out of control. But what if the problem isn't an overreaction, but a single hidden bottleneck? See, in any system, in any process, there's always one thing holding everything back. The real challenge is finding it. Picture this. You're building a sandcastle with your friends. You've got one friend digging sand like a machine, super fast. Another friend is carrying the buckets, also super fast. You've got someone else ready to add all the decorations. But there's one friend, friend C, whose job is to mold the towers, and they're working very, very slowly. Does it matter how fast everyone else is working? Nope. The entire castle only gets built as fast as your slowest friend can mold those towers. Friend C is your bottleneck. This simple idea is the absolute heart of something called the theory of constraints. And it's a really powerful method that basically says, stop trying to improve everything all at once. Find the one weakest link, your friend C, and focus all of your energy, all of your resources on helping them. Because that's the only way to make the entire system faster. And there's a clear 5-step process for applying this theory. First, you have to identify the constraint. Find it. Then you exploit it, which just means you make sure it is never, ever idle. Next, you subordinate everything else to support it. Nobody works faster than the bottleneck can handle. If that's still not enough, you elevate it. You invest in it, get more resources, and finally, you repeat the whole process. Because as soon as you fix one bottleneck, trust me, a new one will pop up somewhere else. It's this awesome loop of continuous improvement. So while the theory of constraints helps us find that single weakest link, our next theory helps us prioritize, well, everything else. You've almost definitely heard of it. It's the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto Principle. And it's a simple but really profound idea. Focus on the vital few, not the trivial many. This means you stop treating everything equally, because it's not. You start prioritizing ruthlessly. So you find the 20% of your products that are driving 80% of your profit, and you give them all your attention. Or you find the 20% of suppliers who are causing 80% of your headaches, and you fix those relationships first. It is the ultimate tool for putting your limited time and energy where it's going to matter the most. Okay, so those theories help us diagnose problems. They give us the why. Now, let's switch gears and talk about the models. These are the practical blueprints that show us how to actually go about building better, more efficient, and more responsible supply chains. First up is the SCOR model. The best way to think of this is like a universal dictionary for supply chains. It breaks any supply chain, no matter how complex, down into 6 core processes: plan, source, make, deliver, return, and enable. This common language is what allows a company in Germany and a supplier in Vietnam to talk about performance in the exact same way, so everyone's on the same page. Now for a philosophy that literally changed the world of manufacturing: just in time, or JIT. And the best analogy is the sushi chef. A regular home cook might have a pantry that's just stuffed with just-in-case ingredients. But a master sushi chef? No way. They have that perfectly fresh fish delivered exactly when it's needed for that day's service. There is no waste, and you get maximum freshness. That's JIT, getting rid of all that extra inventory by having things show up precisely when you need them. Okay, next up, we have 2 fundamental ways to trigger production. In what's called a push model, a bakery makes 100 loaves of bread based on a forecast, a guess, and then pushes them out onto the shelves, hoping they sell. In a pull model, a custom car company doesn't build a thing until you place your order. Your order is what pulls the car through the entire production process. One is based on guessing, the other is based on actual, real demand. Of course, most companies today are way too smart for that. They use a clever hybrid of the two. They might push all the common parts and components to different warehouses based on a forecast, but they only pull the final assembly together once you, the customer, actually place a specific order. This gives you the best of both worlds. You get efficiency and customization. And finally, a really modern model that completely redefines what success even means. For decades, business was about one thing and one thing only: profit. The triple bottom line model comes along and argues that 2 other factors are just as important: people, which is about social responsibility, and planet, which is about environmental sustainability. This quote just sums it up perfectly. In today's world, both customers and investors are demanding more. A company that pollutes or uses unethical labor, well, it isn't just being irresponsible. It's building a business that simply cannot last. True success requires a balance of all 3 of these. So we have covered a lot of ground, from the theories that explain why things go wrong to the models that give us the blueprints for how to make them right. But this isn't just some academic exercise. This is your new lens for seeing the entire world. The next time you see a delivery truck or an empty shelf at the grocery store, or even just a product that was made halfway around the world, you're going to see it all differently. You now have the building blocks. You can see the hidden systems that are running our world all around us. So what are you going to notice first?